My name is Ryan. I'm 30, work a boring office job, live alone, and honestly, I thought my biggest life problem was running out of coffee. But 3 months ago, something started happening that made me question my sanity, my memories, even my identity. It began small. Too small to notice at first. I'd come home from work and find the faucet dripping, even though I never leave it that way. My shoes moved. A window cracked open when I knew I locked it shut. Dumb little things. I blamed stress, sleep deprivation, anything logical. But it got worse. One day I walked into the grocery store near my house, and one of the workers smiled at me and said, "Back again?" I froze. I hadn't been there in weeks. I laughed it off and said, "You must be confusing me with someone else." But she frowned, confused. "No, you were here this morning." That cold pinch in my spine stayed with me all day. Then it happened again. And again. A neighbor waved at me from across the street and said, "Hey Ryan, thanks again for the help yesterday." Help with what? I was at work all day. Little by little, people started recognizing me in places I'd never been. Someone at the gym asked me why I left my earbuds behind the day before, even though I'd never been inside that gym. A cashier thanked me for coming back. A barista said, "Your usual." My usual? I don't even drink coffee at that cafe. One night I decided to check my home security camera. I don't normally review the footage. I only installed the cameras after a break-in scare last year, but something told me I needed to see it. Everything inside me froze when the video loaded. At 2:17 p.m. that day, while I was at work, stuck in a meeting, my front door opened. And a man walked in. Calm. Casual. Confident. He had my jacket. My hair. My height. My exact face. It was me. He walked through my house like he lived there. Straight to the kitchen. Grabbed water. Sat on my couch. Turned on my TV. Then he walked upstairs and into my bedroom. Eventually he came back down, looked straight at the camera, and smiled. Not my smile. A colder version. Sharper. Like he enjoyed what he was doing. I stopped breathing. I replayed the footage at least 20 times, trying to convince myself it was edited. Glitched. Fake. But no. The movements were natural. The shadows matched. Even the scar on his right eyebrow, the tiny one I got as a kid, was there. The next day, I called in sick and stayed home. I locked every door, checked the attic, the basement, even behind the shower curtain like a paranoid idiot. Nothing. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I found muddy footprints in the hallway leading toward the stairs, my size, my pattern, but I hadn't left the house. I couldn't live like this, so I set up cameras inside the house too. Every room. Every hallway. My phone was connected to all of them. 3 days later, at 3:11 a.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected. My blood turned to ice. I opened the live feed. There he was. Standing in my living room. Looking around. breathing heavily like he'd been running. Then he walked to the couch and sat down, burying his face in his hands. When he lifted his head, I noticed something I hadn't before. His eyes looked exhausted. Desperate. Like he was scared of something. Then he whispered something. It was too quiet to hear. I turned up the volume. Please, stop following me. Following him? What the hell was he talking about? He stood, walked toward the hallway, then suddenly turned his head toward the camera. And this time, his expression wasn't cold. It was terrified. They're watching you too, he whispered. Don't trust your memories. I felt my heart drop. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. He placed it on the hallway table, then walked toward the front door. But before leaving, he said one last thing. Run while you still can. Then he left. I waited an hour before I was brave enough to go downstairs. When I finally approached the table, my hands were shaking so much I almost dropped the note. I unfolded it. There was just one sentence. You're not the original. My vision blurred. My mind screamed. My chest tightened so hard I couldn't breathe. I checked the cameras for his exit, but there was no footage. He never opened the door. He never left through a window. He simply vanished. I wasn't sure what scared me more, the idea that someone was impersonating me. Or the idea that someone thought I was impersonating him. For days I stayed home trying to understand. I checked public cameras. Street footage. Nothing. No trace of him anywhere except inside my house. Then I found something else. A second note. Not on the table. Not anywhere obvious. But under my mattress. Another version of my handwriting. It said, if you're reading this, it means I already failed. I dropped the note and stumbled backwards. That's when I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, familiar, identical to mine. But this time, I wasn't watching a camera. This time, someone was inside my room. And he whispered. Stop looking for answers. You won't like who you really are.